So we found a survey here that says 3 in 5 Americans watch a series or a movie just for the villain. Well, I mean, obviously these aren't the people watching Marvel movies because nobody likes Marvel villains 98.9% of the time.
I think that Thanos is actually a pretty good villain.
No, but I'm saying he's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
Thanos, Killmonger, there's like a couple of them. You could argue if you wanted to include the Netflix series, you could talk about Kingpin or the Purple Man in Jessica Jones, Kilgrave. Those are good examples of good villains, but
these days, with the writing of villains, it feels like they're intentionally written for us to sympathize and relate with them.
I'm over it. They were even saying they did that in the Dahmer series.
They tried
to be made more relatable.
Pull that even with a real person who hurt real people and whose families are still alive and watching this. But like they even tried to pull this with Rings of Power, doing that
Sauron.
like gotcha moment with Halbrand being Sauron.
Discount Spirit Halloween Sauron.
When Halbrand actually wasn't even that likable of a character. I didn't find him awfully relatable or sympathetic to begin with.
Let's go through some of these numbers. So it says more than half, 51% of TV or movie watching Americans always or often root for the villain. This is where, again, I ask the question, are we the baddies? Are we the bad guys here? We're rooting for the wrong people. In a survey of 2011 people, 3 in 5, that's 60%, said they watch a series or a movie just for the villain. 3/4 of those who watch movies or shows also noted a villain can make or break either. I'm actually kind of not in that camp. Like, if that depends on where the focus goes. Yeah, if the movie focuses a lot on the villain, then they can make or break the movie. But if the focus isn't heavily on the villain and it's very heavily focused on the good guy, then I don't need the villain to be as memorable. But it's a question of where the director puts the attention.
To challenge a formidable good guy, you need a formidable bad guy, right?
Not always. I don't think that's always true.
Because that's what I felt with
Most of the
Samaritan.
time, yes.
Samaritan is another one that comes to mind because that villain needed serious work.
Yes, he was bad.
And then the hero is an anti-hero because we found out that he was Nemesis. And he's like, I'm the bad guy. So really, even though there is a clear-cut good guy, bad guy story there, we still are given the bait and switch where we're supposed to sympathize with the villain in the end. And I find it strange and a weird, like, toppling over of a previous ethical system.
Yeah.
That's always been my problem with Batman and Spider-Man is, like, they are going after just truly reprehensible characters, but then they just tie them up and leave them for the cops. And I'm like, come on. Like,
that's the charm of it.
You gotta, this guy did some terrible, like, how many times did the Joker get captured and then released just to do more carnage, And it's like, Batman, you should have taken the Joker out a while ago.
Because then the idea is that you're responsible for your own actions. You can only do so much. It doesn't make him judge, jury, and executioner.
Isn't there one Marvel series, maybe Hawkeye, where he has like a no-kill policy?
I would say that's
can't stand that.
Generally,
if it was that, I don't know if I'm remembering correctly, but I think he had like a no-kill policy for his adversaries, and I think that's stupid.
I also want to point out that anybody who thinks that Tumblr didn't kill a bunch of cops or people on the road whenever Batman rode the Tumblr, you're nuts. That thing, people died during those road chases. Don't let anyone tell you differently. Not just Ben Affleck.
Again, think of the cleanup crew.
Christian Bale as Batman killed plenty of people with that car. If you think nobody died in those building collapses.
Oh, I also thought about Batman when they asked what you like most about a villain. And
this is what I wanted to talk about next.
They said magical abilities the most, high IQ second, which Batman does have. Powerful tech, Batman has that. Many supporters. What would you say?
I would say that...
Is that one of the big draws? And then lots of money. Obviously, he has that.
High IQ and great tech is something that always works, or just are genuinely, people love stories about people that are really, really good at something. Like when the show Arrow started, it worked because Oliver Queen was obscenely good at everything that he was doing, but he still had flaws as well, right? But people love the idea of somebody who's really, really gifted at something. I thought the stuff about Gen X was the most interesting, and that says that Gen Z attributes this preference to villains' complexity, while millennials could relate more to their backstory, and Gen X was just drawn to more interesting powers. There's something more wholesome about Gen X. Like, I just like it when they got cool stuff that happens. I like it.
I want to mention, by the way, that this poll was conducted by Butterfinger, the candy, which was previously owned by Nestle. They're making their own supervillain called Robin Fingers,
which is a creepy name.
And
I don't like that.
I always thought that the promo for Butterfinger has been weird because they had this one character that was like a baby, like infant version of the Nut. Like, who is the Nut guy? What is his name?
Isn't that Planters? No, Mr. Peanut?
Wait, it was Mr. Peanut's
and they've got the baby Nut.
Infant baby, and he was like on a Periscope live stream I saw.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the comments and they were like, it was, I don't even know why they were VTubing a baby Nut, but like someone commented, "Cry, baby Nut." Sorry, I just felt like I had to get that off my chest.
I think they introduced that. I don't know if it was last year's Super Bowl or the Super Bowl before that, but it was a Super Bowl commercial, and they killed off. Yeah, or they either killed off Mr. Peanut, and then Baby Nut was born. I was like, what are they doing here?
Super Bowl commercials suck these days.
And after like a few weeks, a couple months, it was just Mr. Peanut again. So I'm like, were you guys
what
trying
was
to?
all the point of that?
Exactly.
And now, what's the point of Robin Fingers? Why is this guy relevant to us?
To be fair, he does look like he might be on like the discount Kirkland brand Anonymous.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, if it was discount Kirkland brand, it would be red and black, right?
Sure.
The red line in their logo. Results found, like what you said, magical abilities. 39% can do the trick for villains. High IQ, 35. Powerful tech, 34. And then we get down to the part about cool powers, 41%. Sinister voice is important. Like I said, let Tony Todd voice all your bad guys. Go back and listen to any clip of him playing Zoom in season 2 of The Flash. The other good one is they mention cool hair in one of them. Like in the show Arrow, like I mentioned before, the guy who plays Ra's al Ghul, they keep calling him Ra's al Ghul in that version of the show too, was played by Matt Nable, and he has this really like messy, like he just got out of bed hair in the first few episodes, and it's the most lame looking thing ever. And it's like finally like the costume designer or like hairstyles woke up at like episode 17. They started slicking his hair back and made him look infinitely cooler.
I don't know. Maybe going bald is a better origin story.
to go against that, what's his name on The Boys? The one that does not have superpowers. Yeah. His hair is always kind of disheveled.
It's but it fits the character.
Depends on
right?
the character. I think I might be falling into this villain craze because if it's a hero that I sympathize with, they have to have selfish motivations for me to like them and not be like a Superman type of
I don't need them to be
character.
Redeemable. I'm sick of redeemable villains. Just make them inherently evil.
No. I mean, heroes. I want I like when heroes have selfish
like
motivations. Yeah, and like maybe they'll change over the course of the movie.
Yeah.
But like I like when they start with something that's self-serving at least.
Yeah, well, and there's for the heroes, there's room for complexity there, right? Like,
why isn't there room for complexity in a villain? Do you?
I don't care. I'm sick of redeeming villains. Let's just make them evil.
Do you think it's intentionally trying to like topple our moral values?
So I got
kind of, but I also believe that part of it's that they just maybe that could have been done right 10 to 20 years ago. I don't think that the current crop of Hollywood writers has the capability of doing that type of stuff right anymore.
So I have to push back a little bit because when they actually made that independent standalone Joker movie and they showed the complexity of a villain, people fell in love with that movie. That's one of the most successful superhero movies.
That's the exception, not the rule.
Would they?
Sure, but how many supervillain movies got their, or how many villains got their own movie devoted to them?
But it's also it's his movie. A villain inherently won't be the focus of the movie if they're the villain of the story. The antagonist is usually somebody second to the hero in the movie. You don't have the time to flesh that character out the way you would the hero, because more time is inherently spent with the hero in that movie.
Right.
With Joker,
and you were saying a TV show is more suited to a villain.
Yes.
Because they have more time
to flesh out that character.
To build it out. Yeah.
I don't believe in the movie. You've only got so much real estate to work with that you don't have the time to flesh out that character in a way that also allows the hero to be fleshed out. Now, it worked with Thanos because you had already fleshed out the other characters in previous movies. And that movie really, Avengers Infinity War was basically his movie.
Right. But Thanos was also getting teased for how many years before Avengers, that those movies came out.
What I wanted them to do, this is off topic, but what I wanted them to do with Batman, when Dane's favorite Batman, Ben Affleck, got to play Batman, how much he loves that. Dane, he's probably in the chat right now talking about how much he's probably talking about how much he loves it right now. What I wanted them to do is to turn Batman into Thanos for the DC universe and only use Batman for post-credit scenes until they did a Batman movie like 5 to 7 movies down the line. So what you do is after Man of Steel, you just show Batman learning about Superman's existence and show him in every movie post-credit scene in the Batcave building out technology to take on Superman, and then you make Batman vs Superman, like movie 7 in there. In that one, he can be your anti-hero or he kind of is portrayed that way anyway, right? Superman's a Boy Scout. Batman is more of an anti-hero because he may not kill people, but he's definitely a vigilante. I don't think that they have the talent to do that with most things right now. Also, someone in the chat saying a Mr. Freeze villain series. I was actually really surprised that they didn't go with a Mr. Freeze villain series rather than the Penguin one that they're going to be doing from Matt Reeves. But
the Penguin would be cool though, because Mr. Freeze would also be very cool, but the Penguin's got that mob kind of vibe going for him.
They had the did you watch Gotham?
Parts of it.
Gotham, yeah, it's quite good. So you villains more than heroes? I feel like you identify more with the villains than the heroes in most of the movies.
Villains than anti-heroes. Heroes.
I'm also kind of over the anti-hero thing too, because that's just the Punisher series was fine. Most of the anti-heroes today are kind of supposedly that's mostly what we're going to be getting from Black Adam, right? Because Black Adam was a villain that's made into an anti-hero. Oh, by the way, guys, I saw a very good review from Jeremy Johns, or not very good's a little bit generous. Jeremy Johns gave it a good review, so we're hoping that we see a.
I feel like people just want to contradict whatever Rotten Tomatoes critics are saying at this point, right?
No, Jeremy Johns is a unique case of he is uniquely himself. He's not
okay. Well, we'll see.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll see what it says.
Do you know if you need to see any other DC movies for Black Adam to make sense?
I don't believe that's.
He's kind of an outlier, peripheral character in DC anyway.
He was supposed to be in the first Shazam movie because he's a Shazam character initially. That's why their suits have the similar look. But then The Rock vetoed it because The Rock's got power because he's The Rock.
He wants his own movie.
I love Chuck though.
I'm
Shazam was good.
You like what?
Do you remember who's the guy that played Shazam?
Zachary Levi. You like the show Chuck?
Chuck.
You and me.
That was a great show.
Talk about Chuck sometime. Everyone should go watch Chuck. If you've never seen it, that's one up there with The Wire on the shows that I tell everyone to go watch all the time.
What's it about?
It's about a guy who gets all of the government's secrets downloaded into his brain. And then John Casey and Sarah Walker are hired by the NSA and the CIA to protect him. Why they would put all their secrets into one person's brain, you never really find out. It doesn't really matter.
Was it? I don't think it was. I don't know if it was designed to be downloaded into someone's brain. I think he saw some kind of propaganda video.
No, it was.
This is going to be like Owen Benjamin playing the head of NASA.
It was called the Intersect, and it was designed to be put into someone's brain. And that's another example of it's a show everyone should be watching it. That one's on HBO Max. There is this incredible scene where they stage a revolution at the Buy More, And John Casey, who salutes a picture of Ronald Reagan every day before he goes to work, comes in and they're like, we're staging a revolution to take down the man. And he gets really excited, even though he's literally just talking to a bunch of dorks at an electronics shop, and says, I want in.
It's like Geek Squad.
Yeah, that's what it's, the nerd herd.
The nerd herd.
They're like, how do we know we can trust you, man? He's like, you have to go watch
it. It's like Mr. Robot.
Yes.
That's a great one, too. Would you consider Mr. Robot a villain or an anti-hero?
Anti-hero.
Yeah.
So, I guess to me, I'm just kind of over the gray area characters and stuff like that. I long for more traditional storytelling.
No more nuance, says Brett.
Well, with these types of movies, I just the current crop of writers don't know how to pull it off. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.